The husband and wife parked their rigs side by side and never came back. In 2021, 9 years later, a logging crew unearths their CB radios wrapped together in surveyor's tape. Did they mark their own trail or follow someone else's? May 14, 2012. A county deputy rolls past mile marker 73 on State Route 410 just after dawn and sees two tractor trailers pulled onto the shoulder where the pavement meets gravel. Both cabs face the tree line. Both driver doors hang open. He keys his radio and asks dispatch to run the plates. The answer comes back clean. The trucks belong to a husband and wife team out of Idaho. Their last known stop was a rest area 60 miles south. The deputy walks between the rigs. No argument, no skid, no sign anyone left in a hurry. He finds two half-full coffee thermoses on the dashboards. The engines are cold. He calls for a second unit. While he waits, he opens the passenger door of the lead truck. A road atlas lies across the seat. Someone has circled a stretch of Forest Service road in red ink. The circle sits 14 miles west of this exact spot. He flips to the margin. There is a date written in pencil, May 13th, yesterday. He radios the plate numbers again and asks dispatch to pull phone records. Dispatch says the wife's cell pinged a tower near this location at 11:42 p.m. That was the last activity. He closes the atlas and walks to the tree line. The ground is soft. He finds two sets of boot prints heading into the timber. The prints are deep and deliberate. They do not wander. The second deputy arrives 20 minutes later. They follow the prints for a quarter mile. The tracks stay parallel. Then they split. One set angles north. The other continues west. Both fade where the soil turns to rock. The deputies mark the fork with orange tape and return to the highway. A tow company hauls both trucks to the county impound. A search team arrives by noon. They deploy grid patterns and ground teams. Searchers comb the area for 3 days. They find no clothing, no tools, no personal items. On day 4, the search scales back. Volunteers keep walking the grids for another week. Then the operation closes. The husband's brother flies in from Boise. He meets with the lead investigator. The investigator shows him the atlas. The brother studies the circled road. He says the couple sometimes took back roads to avoid way stations when they were close on hours. The investigator asks if they had any reason to go into the woods on foot. The brother shakes his head. He says they were professional. They logged everything. They never missed a check-in. The investigator opens a folder. Inside are printouts from the truck's digital time card. The device shows the husband clocked out at 11:38 p.m. on May 13th. 4 minutes later, the wife did the same. The investigator taps the page. Clocking out means they intended to rest. But their boots were on and their doors were open. The brother has no explanation. 6 months pass. A hiker reports finding a fuel card on a trail 3 miles north of the shoulder. The card belongs to the husband. A deputy hikes out and recovers it. The card sits on a flat rock in plain sight. There is no wallet, no signs of struggle. The deputy bags it and adds it to evidence. Winter arrives. Snow covers the search zone. Chur comes and the snow melts. Volunteers organize another sweep. They find nothing new. By the end of 2013, the case file goes to cold storage. The trucks remain in impound. The brother pays the fees. He will not let them be auctioned. 2014. A forestry contractor logs a section 8 miles west of the shoulder. His crew cuts a corridor for a new access route. On the 3rd day, a chainsaw operator shuts down his saw and signals his foreman. He points to the base of a cedar stump. 2 objects wrapped in faded orange surveyor's tape lie half buried in the duff. The foreman pulls them out. Both are handheld CB radios. The tape is brittle. He carefully unwraps them. Each radio has a label on the back. One reads Driver A. The other reads Driver B. The labels are written in permanent marker. The foreman calls the county. A detective drives out the next morning. He photographs the site before disturbing anything. The radios sit exactly where the operator found them. He measures the distance from the highway, 8.2 miles. He checks his map. This location is nowhere near the circled road from the atlas. He bags both radios and drives them to the lab. A technician opens the battery compartments. The batteries are corroded but intact. He tests the circuits. Both radios are functional. There is no water damage, no impact damage. He checks the memory. Neither radio holds saved channels. He writes his summary. The radios were in working order when they were wrapped. Someone turned them off first. The detective pulls the case file. He reads every report. He re-interviews the brother. The brother confirms the couple always carried CB radios. They used them to communicate between trucks. The detective asks if they ever used surveyor's tape. The brother says no. The couple worked freight. They had no reason to carry survey equipment. The detective asks if anyone else had access to their trucks. The brother says they parked together every night. They trusted no one with their keys. The detective thanks him and ends the call. He drives back to the forest site. He brings a tracker and 2 deputies. They establish the cedar stump as center point. They spiral out in widening circles. The tracker stops after 50 yards. He crouches. A small cairn of rocks sits beneath a hemlock. The rocks are stacked deliberately. The tracker dismantles it. Underneath is a tarnished steel lighter. He opens it. The initials on the side match the husband's name. The detective bags it. They continue searching. 200 yards south, they find a second cairn. This one hides a small leather notebook. The cover is warped. The detective opens it carefully. The pages are the wife's handwriting. Most entries are load numbers and fuel stops. The last entry is dated May 13, 2012. It reads, "Heard it again. Not wind. He says mark the road so we can find it tomorrow." The detective photographs every page. He brings the notebook to a document examiner. The examiner confirms the handwriting matches samples from the wife's logbook. The ink is consistent with the date. The paper shows no signs of forgery. The detective reads the entry again. Heard what? Who is he? Why mark a road they already had circled? He checks the timeline. The couple clocked out at 11:38 p.m. The last cell ping was 11:42. That gives them 4 minutes. 4 minutes to decide to leave their trucks and walk into the dark with only their radios and a lighter. The detective reviews weather data. The night was clear. Temperature was 41 degrees. No storm, no emergency. He pulls the surveyor's tape from evidence. The manufacturer's mark is still legible. He contacts the company. They confirm the tape is a standard product, sold at hardware and forestry suppliers across the Pacific Northwest. The detective visits 6 stores within 100 miles. None keep purchase records that far back. He runs a search for similar cases. 3 other disappearances occurred along forest corridors in Oregon and Washington between 2010 and 2015. All involved single drivers. None involved CB radios or survey tape. He finds no pattern. 2016. A wildlife biologist studying elk migration sets up trail cameras in a drainage basin 9 miles from the original search zone. She checks the cameras every 2 weeks. On her 4th visit, she reviews footage from late April. One frame shows a human figure walking through the frame at dusk. The figure is too distant to identify. The biologist reports it to the county. A deputy retrieves the camera. He plays the footage. The figure walks steadily. No limp, no hesitation. The timestamp is April 23, 2016. 4 years after the disappearance. The deputy enhances the image. The figure wears a dark jacket. The gait is consistent with an adult male. The figure moves west. The deputy checks the drainage coordinates. The area is remote. No marked trails. No structures within 10 miles. He organizes a small team. They hike to the camera location. The terrain is steep, dense undergrowth. They find no footprints, no camps, no gear. They extend the search another mile in each direction. On the second day, they find a torn section of nylon fabric snagged on a branch. The fabric is weathered. The deputy bags it. Lab analysis shows it matches material commonly used in truck cab curtains. The manufacturer is the same brand installed in the wife's truck. The detective adds the fabric to evidence. He maps all recovery points. The radios, the lighter, the notebook, the fabric. They form a rough line trending west. Each point is progressively farther from the highway. 2018. A mushroom forager discovers a faded logbook page pinned beneath a rock near a creek bed, 11 miles from the shoulder. The page is water-stained but readable. It shows a load manifest dated May 10, 2012. The signature matches the husband's handwriting. The forager calls the sheriff. A deputy hikes out. He recovers the page. The rock holding it is not native to the area. It is smooth river stone. The nearest river is 6 miles away. The deputy photographs the site. The page was placed deliberately. Someone wanted it found, but not soon. He brings it to the detective. The detective compares it to other manifests. The handwriting is authentic. The load details check out. The couple delivered that freight 3 days before they vanished. He studies the page under magnification. In the bottom margin, someone has written 3 words in pencil. Not staying long. The detective interviews the brother again. He asks if the phrase means anything. The brother says it sounds like something the wife would write. She always told him they were saving money to buy land and stop driving. The detective asks if they had any location in mind. The brother says they talked about Montana or northern Idaho, somewhere quiet. The detective asks if they ever mentioned strange experiences on the road. The brother pauses. He says the wife called him 2 weeks before they disappeared. She told him they kept hearing something over the CB at night. A voice asking for directions. The brother assumed it was crosstalk. The detective writes this down. He asks if she said anything else. The brother says she sounded tired. She said the husband wanted to check it out. She thought it was a waste of time. The detective pulls CB radio logs. He contacts the manufacturer. They explain that handheld CB units do not store transmission data. Any conversation is lost once the signal ends. He checks FCC records. No unusual activity was reported on CB frequencies in that region during May 2012. He interviews long-haul drivers who ran State Route 410 that month. 4 remember seeing the couple's trucks. None heard distress calls. One driver says the husband mentioned hearing a repeating signal near mile marker 70. The driver assumed it was interference from a weather station. The detective asks if the husband seemed concerned. The driver says no, just curious. 2019. A trail maintenance crew, working near the original search zone, finds a small campfire ring. The stones are arranged carefully. Inside the ring are charred fragments of paper. A crew member photographs the site and reports it. The detective hikes out. He sifts through the ash. Most fragments are too damaged. He recovers one piece the size of a postage stamp. It shows part of a date, May 1st. The paper is consistent with pages from a pocket calendar. He bags it. A forensic analyst examines the char patterns. The fire was small, controlled. Not an emergency signal. Someone sat and burned papers intentionally. The analyst estimates the fire occurred between 2 and 4 years after the disappearance, based on weathering of the stone ring. The detective maps the campfire location. It sits 10 miles from the highway, directly in line with the other evidence points. He studies topographic maps. The line trends toward a remote plateau. The plateau is federally managed. No logging, no mining. Public access requires a long hike. He contacts the Forest Service. They confirm no permits were issued for that area between 2012 and 2020. He asks if there are any structures. They say no, just wilderness. He files a request to review historical survey maps. The maps show a small fire lookout tower was decommissioned in 1978. The tower was removed. No foundation remains. The detective notes the location. It sits 12 miles from the highway, almost perfectly aligned with the evidence trail. 2020. Winter storms delay all field operations. The detective retires in June. He hands the case to a younger investigator. She reads every file. She requests a helicopter flyover of the plateau. The request is denied due to budget constraints. She applies for a grant. While waiting, she re-interviews the brother. He is older now. His voice is quiet. He tells her he dreams about them sometimes. Walking. Always walking. He asks if she thinks they are still out there. She does not answer. 2021. The logging crew returns to finish clearing the access corridor. They push 8 miles deeper than before. On May 9th, a skidder operator drags a load of cut timber and exposes a small hollow beneath an overturned root ball. Inside the hollow are 2 CB radios wrapped together in surveyor's tape. The operator stops. He recognizes the setup. He radios his foreman. The foreman walks over. He stares. The radios are identical to the ones found in 2014. Same model, same orange tape, same labels, driver A, driver B, but these are in better condition. The tape is brighter. The foreman calls the county immediately. The investigator drives out. She photographs everything before moving the radios. She measures the site, 12.4 miles from the highway. She unwraps the tape. The radios are clean. No corrosion, no dirt inside the battery compartments. She powers one on. It hums. The battery is half charged. She checks the other, also functional. She bags both and brings them to the lab. The technician runs a full diagnostic. Both radios were last powered on within the past 6 months. The circuits show recent current flow. The technician looks at the investigator. These were used recently, by someone. She returns to the site with a full team. They search a half-mile radius. They find no footprints, no camps, no food wrappers. The forest is silent. On the 3rd day, a team member calls out. He is standing beside a tall cedar. At chest height, someone has carved 2 sets of initials into the bark. The investigator examines them. The cuts are shallow, healing. The tree's growth rings suggest the carving is less than a year old. She photographs the initials. They match the husband and wife. She touches the bark. The cut edges are smooth, made with a sharp knife. Deliberate, careful. She pulls the evidence log. 2 sets of radios, both wrapped the same way, both found in the same corridor, but 9 years apart. She considers scenarios. Someone could have taken the first set and planted the second. But why use fresh batteries? Why carve initials recently? She checks the CAD records. No one reported seeing the couple. No confirmed sightings in 9 years. She reads the wife's last notebook entry again. Heard it again. Not wind. He says, mark the road so we can find it tomorrow. Find what? She studies the map. The evidence trail leads to the decommissioned lookout site. She decides to hike it. She brings 2 deputies and a satellite phone. They start at dawn. The terrain is brutal. No trails. They navigate by GPS. It takes 6 hours to reach the coordinates. The site is overgrown. No tower, no concrete pad, just a clearing surrounded by old-growth timber. The investigator walks the perimeter. She finds nothing. One deputy calls out. He is at the edge of the clearing. A small stone cairn sits beneath a white bark pine. The investigator dismantles it. Inside is a laminated map. The map shows State Route 410. Someone has drawn a dotted line from mile marker 73 to this exact plateau. The line is labeled in faded ink. Reply heard here. She photographs the map and bags it. They search until dusk. No other evidence. They hike back in the dark. The investigator does not sleep that night. She keeps thinking about the dotted line. Reply heard here. Reply to what? She pulls the CB frequency logs again. She contacts a retired signal analyst. She explains the case. He listens. Then he tells her that in remote areas CB signals can bounce off terrain and create unusual propagation. Sometimes a signal will repeat naturally. Other times a receiver picks up distant transmissions that were sent hours earlier. Atmospheric conditions matter. The investigator asks if a signal could repeat for days. He says no. But if someone kept transmitting from the same location, the effect could seem continuous. She thanks him and hangs up. She maps the timeline. The couple heard something on May 13th. They circled a forest road the same day. They clocked out just before midnight. They walked into the timber. They carried their radios. They wrapped them in surveyor's tape. They marked cairns. They left pages from a logbook. They carved initials 9 years later. Or someone did. She considers the possibility they are alive, that they walked away intentionally. The brother said they wanted to stop driving. But why leave the trucks with doors open? Why leave no note? Why take only radios and a lighter? She considers the alternative, that they are not alive, that someone staged the evidence. But the handwriting is authentic. The initials are fresh. The radios were recently powered. She returns to the plateau in July. This time she brings a soil expert and a cadaver dog. The dog finds no alerts. The soil expert samples the clearing. He finds no disturbance consistent with burial. The investigator camps overnight. At dusk she hears a distant sound, low, repetitive, almost like static. She walks toward it. The sound fades. She returns to camp. At midnight she hears it again. She grabs a radio from evidence. She powers it on and scans frequencies. Channel 19. The sound is there. Faint, rhythmic, not voices, not quite static. She records it on her phone. She plays it back. It sounds like breathing. She turns off the radio. The forest goes silent. She brings the recording to an audio analyst. He isolates the waveform. He says it is consistent with electromagnetic interference, possibly from old equipment. He cannot identify a source. The investigator files her report. She recommends the case remain open. She notes that evidence suggests the couple went into the forest willingly, that they may have been trying to reach a specific location, that they left markers along the way. She writes that their current status is unknown. She does not write what she believes, that they are still walking, that they never stopped. The brother visits the impound lot in August. He asks to see the trucks one last time. The attendant unlocks the gate. The brother climbs into the husband's cab. He sits in the driver's seat. The thermos is still on the dash. He picks it up. There is coffee inside. It has solidified. He sets it down. He looks at the passenger seat. The atlas is gone. Moved to evidence. He climbs down and walks to the wife's truck. He opens the door. Her logbook is on the seat. He flips through the pages. Everything is logged. Every mile. Every fuel stop. The last entry is May 13th. End of shift. He closes the book. He thanks the attendant and leaves. The investigator updates the file every 6 months. No new evidence has surfaced since the second set of radios. The brother calls twice a year. He asks the same question. She gives the same answer. She does not know. In 2023, the state closes the impound lot. The trucks are moved to auction. The brother buys them both. He parks them on his property in Boise. He will not drive them. He leaves the keys in the ignitions, just in case. The case file remains open. The evidence sits in a climate-controlled room. 2 sets of CB radios, a lighter, a notebook, a fuel card, a fabric scrap, a logbook page, a laminated map, a charred calendar fragment, and a recording of something that might be static or might be breath. The investigator listens to it sometimes, late at night, when the office is empty. She wonders if they found what they were looking for. She wonders if they are still marking the trail. She wonders if one day someone will walk far enough to see the end. Surveyor's tape does not decay quickly. It can last decades in the right conditions. The orange color fades, but the plastic holds. In the forest west of State Route 410, there are sections of tape tied to branches at irregular intervals. They are old, brittle. Some are torn, but they form a line. The line runs from mile marker 73 to a plateau that has no name. No one maintains the line. No one removes the tape. Hikers see it sometimes and assume it marks a forgotten trail. They do not follow it. The terrain is too rough, but the tape is still there. And on clear nights when the wind is low, you can still hear something on channel 19. If you stand in the right spot and listen long enough, it does not sound like words. It sounds like a question that has been asked so many times, it has become part of the static. And somewhere between the highway and the plateau, two sets of initials are carved into a tree that will outlive everyone who searches for them.